Thank you for tuning in to Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. I am music producer Achickwitbeatz.
And I am Breezy Gipson, entrepreneur.
And we're glad that you've tuned in to join us once again. Got another show lined up for you that's just chock full of music industry news, beats by yours truly. And again, just highlighting some of the great women that have been on our show for Women's History Month. So, as it comes to a close, it's been a blast kind of sharing portions of these interviews over again. And, because I think a lot of times people are aware of women in the music industry, but maybe not fully aware of some of the things that we, go through, the struggles that it takes to get where we are within our careers and whatnot. So, it's always kind of fun to share these stories and just kind of bring more awareness to people.
Well, one thing for sure, the women that are in the music industry and the music business, they sure be rocking.
Yes, absolutely. And so without any further ado, we'll go ahead and bring you the show right after this.
Okay.
right, we're back with music industry news. First off, CSAC Music Group has acquired the distribution and content delivery platform Audio Salad. And so, of course, well, if you're not familiar, CSAC is another music licensing or collection society. People usually tend to talk about BMI and ASCAP more, but CSAC is there. And they've been making some moves. So now they've acquired this company. They're going to have access to their analytics, delivery, and distribution tech. And so they haven't shared how much they've actually purchased this for, but that's definitely good news for all their members. To be able to kind of have more transparency as far as accounting goes and the royalties that they've got coming in. So as we get more details about how they're actually going to incorporate Audio Salad into their mix, we'll be sure to let you know.
Yeah, that T word, transparency word, that's a strong deal.
Because that's typically what most of the problems are with payments in the music industry, is just not knowing what you've got coming to you, how much of the percentage you're supposed to be getting from streams. So a lot of artists kind of find that, I don't want to say confusing, but maybe overwhelming. And so when there's confusion, there's a lot of room for discontentment as well. So, anything that they can do to make it more obvious, the dollars that are coming back to you, the better. So yeah, it's definitely a good thing.
Okay.
All right, and another acquisition. Universal Music Group has acquired the British classical record label Hyperion Records. And so the famed label is going to remain a standalone recording label alongside Decca Classics and Mercury KX, all under the Universal Music UK umbrella. And so that's the UK's leading record company. So now they're kind of bringing some classical music into the fold, or more of it, I should say, which we just talked about Apple launching Apple Music Classical last week. So, hey, it kind of seems like there's some trends going on. Maybe classical music is getting more exposure than it has been recently. And that's always a good thing because, I mean, it's an important genre. You can listen to some of that stuff and be reminded of childhood, watching Looney Tunes and some of this other stuff. So yeah, it'll be kind of interesting to see who else kind of jumps on board with the whole classical music, exposure that's been occurring lately.
Well, slow down. You'd be surprised. Well, people as a whole would be surprised at exactly how many indie artists, how many just full-scale professionals in the music industry and started out in classical music. Okay, how do I know? Because I'm one of them. How do I know that? Because at age 5, my mother had me taking piano lessons, and those piano lessons were classical music. So that was that's what whet my appetite into the whole music realm in the first place. Okay, I didn't know anything about. So when you're young and at that age, they call that the spooning age. When children are young, they absorb all kinds of info, all kinds of data, all kinds. So by taking those classical music lessons at age 5, from 5 to 6, 5 to 7, oh man, all of the different notes and scales and things like that broadened my reach and knowledge and a lot of different things. So and I learned that as time went by, there's just so many other musicians, getting into the teens, getting into the younger 20s, and so they started out in classical music. So hey, just a tidbit.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because I'm not sure how other school systems in various states did it, but if you wanted to play an instrument, so I grew up in Kalamazoo Public Schools in Michigan, for anybody who's not aware of that, but you had to start with violin. So if you were going to take it through the school, that's what you had to do, and that's exactly what they started us out with. So yeah, that's an excellent point.
Yeah. So for some of those musicians, actually, for this realm that you're speaking of in the news story, it's really like going back to their roots. Yeah. So hey, like I said, just a tidbit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even some of the most just even some of the most just distinguished rockers, they started out in classical music.
Yeah, and because what Nina Simone didn't like to be called a jazz artist at one point. She said she made black classical music. And so, yeah. So, yeah, that's a very interesting point that you bring up. Yeah, great tidbit.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. All right, and Warner has launched a new dance label, Major Recordings. And so this new imprint aims to kind of bring the independent spirit of the genre and give it the resources that it deserves, according to Warner. Although I thought that was kind of an interesting statement because there are a lot of dance music labels. Shout out to the one that I'm on, Nylon Tracks, and all my label mates there. But yeah, there are tons of labels already doing this. So to me, it sounds like Warner just kind of wants to get in on it. But hey, I guess that means that at least they didn't acquire another one. So they've started their own, and we'll kind of see how that goes. So yeah, it's actually called Major Recordings, and I feel like that might get kind of confusing in the future. So I wouldn't be surprised if we mentioned somewhere down the line a name change. But hey, yeah. Long live dance music.
Long live.
All right, a new coalition called the Human Artistry Campaign has launched to promote the ethical use of AI. So if you're one of those people that's been concerned with some of this AI stuff that's been going on, especially when you hear it and how authentic it can sound, that's exactly what they're working for, to make sure that they can preserve creative artists' jobs, if you will, just because, I mean, there's no substitution for human emotion. AI can do so much, but you're going to notice a huge decline in quality if too many people start laying on too thick and or relying on it too much, I should say. But so far, the Recording Academy, the RIAA, and BMI, Sound Exchange, and a lot of other organizations have joined. And so, yeah, they're working to kind of urge industry professionals to use AI responsibly, so that way they're not actually eliminating artists by doing this at the same time.
Yeah. That's something to make you say,
Yeah. I mean, you can kind of tell the huge push that there's been for it, because you can't really scroll any social media site without seeing something that's been generated or asked by AI or to AI. Yeah, it's been a really huge push to kind of normalize it. So I think it's a good thing that they're doing this. So that way, you know, that actual authentic element isn't eliminated from it.
Yeah. Well, it's pluses and minuses, so we shall see.
No, go ahead. I can hear you. You don't have to hold back.
Well, no. I mean, with the announcement that Google is, you know, they were behind the 8 ball, and they are now announcing their version of AI, and there's just a lot going on with the plethora of websites, and it just talks of jobs being lost with this, that, the other, you know, and because, you know, the elements are replacing humans in one form or another. That's why I'm kind of holding back, because, you know, with this being at this time on the calendar year, you know, what will happen by the end of this year? You know, we don't know. Right. It's the unknown. It's the unknown. So that's why, you know, I've got a few reservations just to see, just to think about just what you know, the cans and the can'ts. You know, right. the good cans, but the bad cans.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
Yeah. And I think many artists and creatives kind of see more of the bad cans than the good, because I mean, there is a lot of potential for disruption. As a matter of fact, with Google, when they started talking about theirs, they had said that they had done this a long time ago, but it was too good, and they were worried about unleashing it on the world. Now, whether there's truth behind that or not, I can't say. But, if they are telling the truth and now they're ready to unleash it, then, we have no idea what it's going to look like this time from now. Will there be another show like ours where somebody's fed, a recording into the podcast, and then you got a fake music marvels with Achickwitbeatz Breezy Gipson? I mean, there's lots of potential for, bad things like that to happen. But with alliances like this and, trying to make sure that we spread awareness that you do actually need that human element, or else, yeah, who wants to listen to music with the soul sucked out of it? You know what I mean? So, yeah, that could probably be a whole episode in itself, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, we do. And keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah. All right. And, you mentioned it kind of segues into the next one, but with all these tech giants doing this, and we've seen lately how layoffs have been hitting the tech sector almost every other week. We're talking about somebody else that's laid off more workers. So, yeah, that's the last thing we need is AI to just kind of add to that. But speaking of tech companies, in a shock move, Meta decided to pull music by Italian songwriters from its platforms. So specifically, it's music from the Italian Society of Authors and Publishers, and it's actually called SIAE for short, and that's not a mistake. I'm assuming that's a translation issue, but they sent out a press release saying that Meta decided to exclude its music repertoire from services like Facebook, Instagram, and so forth. But the SIAE says that Meta basically proposed a take it or leave it type licensing deal that offered no transparency, no shared evaluation of what the repertoire was worth to them, as far as how many people were using it and whatnot. So they basically didn't give them any information and said, here's what we're willing to pay you for it. If you don't like it, we'll remove your music. And so, of course, the organization didn't accept it because they didn't know if it was a good deal or not, because they didn't get the information that they needed from Meta in order to actually be able to negotiate fairly. And so because they didn't take it, they just stripped it all off. And so it's effective in all European countries and even beyond the EU territory. So this extends into multiple countries, including the US, which is really sad for these composers, mainly because the US is considered the largest music market. So, it's kind of a sad thing, but I understand why they wouldn't just sign it. I mean, it's basically what we talk about with some of the artists that sign these bad record deals and then find out later, oh, I should have been getting way more than that. So, I mean, even though it sucks to have their catalog pulled off, but the SIAE, I think, in my personal opinion, did the right thing as far as just not letting Meta kind of browbeat them into just accepting what they were offering.
That's a profound statement right there. So, we just have to watch and see what happens.
Yeah. And so, we've seen TikTok kind of do this with Australia, as they were kind of trying to determine how music was working there. And so, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more labels and other platforms kind of doing the same thing. And, hey, it's okay to kind of hold out when you know what you're worth, because at some point they're going to have to come back around, But yeah, we'll definitely make sure that we keep you posted. All right, and Twitter's talks to license music have said to stall under Elon Musk. So if you remember, before he took over, they were kind of exploring to be able to do that from the 3 major labels. But after the whole takeover and all the inside chaos that was going on, when Twitter lost employees, a lot of them were actually a part of the department that was in charge of handling that. So we don't really know when that's going to occur. I remember when I tweeted this a few days back, someone said, well, we don't really use Twitter for music, but if you look at most of the videos that are posted, it contains music from artists, and that should be licensed because they're not getting paid for their music being used there. However, if they go ahead and do these negotiations, you'll be able to use it in the same way that you do on Facebook and Instagram, and the artist can actually be compensated for their work being there, which is something that needs to happen. But at this point, we have no idea when it's going to happen.
Well, one thing for sure, we're gonna see.
Absolutely. All right, and Rolling Loud New York 2023 had to cancel due to logistics. They weren't very specific about it, but the Traveling Hip Hop Festival did say that they plan to return to New York when the time is right, and they're encouraging their New York fans to attend the Miami Festival July 21st through the 23rd. So it is good that they're not saying it's a wrap. So hopefully they will be able to get it going again. I know a lot of people say that they have big fun. I've personally never been to it, but the fact that they've been able to travel and do it multiple locations, I think is a great feat. And hopefully they can get back in the swing of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, hopefully we shall see.
Yeah. All right. And this is more not necessarily news, but just kind of a tidbit, something to probably be aware of. The Weeknd is statistically the world's most popular artist according to Guinness World Records. And here's why they say it. The 33-year-old singer set 2 records for music streaming. 1, he has the most monthly listeners on Spotify. And 2, he's the first artist to reach 100 million monthly listeners on Spotify. And so this actually isn't his first time being recognized by the Guinness World Records. He was back in 2016, and was it for Spotify's most streamed album in 2015, and the other for most consecutive weeks in the top 10 of Billboard's Hot 100 by a solo male artist. So regardless of, and I've got some comments on social media about this already, but regardless of how you feel about him as an artist, the fact that people are streaming it, whether that's through a playlist or if they're actually keying it in to find him, something's sticking, something's resonating with him. So, I mean, he's officially a popular pop artist. Those statistics can't be denied. Although I would say that I'd like to see it include more than just Spotify, but I can see how they come to that conclusion since Spotify is the leading streaming service at the moment.
Well, you there's a thing called brand leader, okay, and it doesn't come easy. So,
right.
A lot went into designating Spotify at its at its level. So people have bought in, musicians have bought in, the consumers have bought in, and so they got a little something going on right now. And so now that doesn't surprise me, So when you're all is good when you're at the top,
right?
Okay, I'll leave it right there.
Right. Yeah. Word to the wise, if you can figure it out.
Well, hey, and see, I'm saying that while I'm raising my right hand, see, because I can remember way in the back, years ago, there were some things going on. I was at the top. All was good. All was really good,
Mm-hmm.
And then one day,
yeah.
One day I came around and there was this little young trainee there, and I'm like, who is she? Why is she sitting in my chair?
Oh, yeah. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about pop culture is that it shifts. So yeah, you're being a pop artist means that you're a pop artist as long as you can be popular. So yeah, I mean, things always change. Hopefully, he'll keep cranking out the hits to keep this spot. But if not, kudos to the next person who rises into it. But yeah, and even with him receiving this recognition from them, it doesn't mean that the other artists aren't as good. It's just people are streaming his stuff. So
Yep.
yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick pause for the cause, and then we'll be back with our highlights from women that we've had on the show to celebrate Women's History Month.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey fam, this is Breezy Gipson from the Breeze team. How would you like to see an online platform that brings you people who've already indicated that they're interested in your particular type of business? Whether it's your music you're selling, hip-hop clothing, you got a restaurant or a cafe, or if you're an entrepreneur or agent for a business. Visit me at breeze2cheese.com. That's using the number 2, breeze2cheese.com, or click my bio link on my Instagram profile to see a live demo of how this can help you get more customers and make more money.
Hey, this is Achickwitbeatz. I am a multi-genre music producer and strategist to indie artists and labels. Visit my website, achickwitbeatz.com, for resources for artists and instrumentals available in various genres for songs, vlogs, blogs, podcasts, themes, TV, film, commercials, and more. Once again, that's achickwitbeatz.com, ACHICKWITBEATZ. Let's make something happen.
Oh yeah. You know, I am just hyped today. I'm always hyped, but I'm extra hyped today because our guest is a young lady who is making a trail in so many different directions. Okay, and so without any further ado, we're going to let her tell her story. We're not stealing any of her thunder. The one and only, hailing out of North Carolina, the North Cackalack, the one and only Prissy. Prissy, how you doing today?
I am doing fine. I feel amazing being able to talk to you guys. Tell my story.
Okay.
Glad to have you.
Yeah. Glad to have you. Okay, so now, you know, share a little bit about who you are, and so our listeners who haven't become familiar with you can become familiar with you.
Okay, my name is Prissy, and I'm from North Carolina, small town in North Carolina called Tarboro. I'm a small business owner. I do quite a few things. I'm in love with music and classic cars. I'm a natural hairstylist and an auto body tech. I'm also a lowrider. I like to do things totally different from, I guess, the norm. I like to go into the male-dominated industries and just be me. I just love singing. I love singing. That has gotten me so far. I do have a business name, Prissy Painters Inc., INK LLC, and that was established in June of 2017. This is where hair and the car world collide. That's why I call it Prissy Painters Inc., because of my history with hair and cars. I'm an avid classic car lover. Mainly what I do is I like to help people. I love to make sure people are okay, whether it's physically, mentally, or spiritually. And with my products, my hair products, it helps with a lot of people with cancer and other autoimmune diseases. I have had the opportunity to work in the cancer center here in Tarboro, where the actual cancer physician, they approved my hair oils, which is one of my main products in my product line of Prissy's Inc. They approved my hair oil for cancer patients. I'm still on the journey, hoping to connect with people so I can get this product out here and push it further. Also, with my music, it's a healing thing for me. It's therapy for me, given that I've gone through quite a few things over my short period of lifetime of 42 years. Going through divorce, going through, being in a wheelchair. I had to walk through my own process of my hair falling out, different types of things. And I just want to be an encouragement and a help to others.
Wow. You know what? You have said quite a mouthful there. And I mean, we can go in so many different directions just based on your opening introduction and description of yourself. Okay. Now, one of the things that you said that caught my attention is that you say you like helping people. And that is just jumping out. That's obvious. Okay. So, you know, I mean, people need help in many different directions. And so now what led you in that facet of your life?
That part of my life, I think just going through sicknesses, different illnesses, being in a wheelchair, trying to figure out how can I restore my hair? Because I know being a woman, your hair is everything. And just going through that emotional journey alone of just not knowing what's going on with my body, I had to go take an approach of holistic medications, learning how to eat differently, learning how to find different herbal medications to beat it, because the doctors told me I was in a wheelchair for a year and I was in diapers and they didn't know what was going on with me. So at first they thought it was lupus, then they went into, well, maybe it's just fibromyalgia. So that process in itself, I had to learn how to live all over again. They told me I wasn't able to have children. I have 3. They told me I wasn't able physically because of later on in the years that what my body had gone through, I wouldn't be able to do auto body. So it's not what people tell you that you can't do. I'm a firm believer in God, and that with him, all things are possible. And obviously my life speaks that. Just going through divorce, going through abusive situations, you can make it. You can make it. I want my message every day is to look at people, even if they don't know my name, if they just be around me, just to have an upbeat attitude, and just to allow people to see that it's possible. It is possible. Even if they can hear my music, that it will be such a healing release during that sound that it will bring forth a hope. I'm sorry. I may have gotten off track, but
that's okay. That's okay.
Bring hope for people.
Yes, ma'am. Wow. Okay. A chick with beats, man. Come on, man. That's a heck of an opening. That's
Seriously.
a double.
Yeah. A lot of times people kind of just focus more on the talent side of it. We talk to a lot of artists and, well, what do you want people to get from you? But the fact that that, like you're actually offering and providing like healing through singing, that's a really, really, really powerful thing. So, hats off to you for, already having your own stuff that you were dealing with, but still to be able to reach out and help other people. Like a lot of times it's easy to kind of just withdraw into yourself. But I just think the fact that, you just want to share positivity and brighten other people's day is just a really, really beautiful thing.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And you dropped the fibromyalgia word in there. Okay, so we don't want that to just slide by for those who don't understand just the significance of that. So can you take just a few seconds to explain to the listeners just what that means?
Yes. Fibromyalgia, practically what it does, it mimics, the last time I read about it, it mimics at least 13 major diseases, and it affects your nerves and your muscles. And your memory. I experienced the severe memory loss. I experienced the nerve issues, the nerve pains, the muscle part. You literally have what I've experienced, muscle spasms from your neck all the way down to your toes. You're on a scale of 10 or more. I've had so much excruciating pain in my past that when I was in labor with my son, my doctor was like, "Why didn't you come sooner?" I'm like, "Sir, I couldn't feel it." So it affects you on so many different aspects. It changes your life. It affects the people around you. It is very debilitating. If you don't, I'm gonna say you really have a strong will, and I'm a strong will person, but I think my worst has already happened. But it changes your life, even down to your thinking. It can cause depression. Been there, done that. It got to a point where I couldn't retain information. Going through, my first spouse had PTSD due to being in the war in Iraq, and how I coped, I have no clue. I began forgetting everything. I had to write everything down. I didn't think I could go through school, and I made it through school. It was just the determination, and I know it was God. So like I said, to bring forth healing for other people, to help people that have gone through some of the things that I have experienced, that is like something major for me. But fibromyalgia, it is, wow, it's something to deal with.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today for Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. I am thrilled, excited. We're delighted that we have the one, the only Monique Nicole in the virtual building with us. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, great. So, if you could just give a little bit of background for everybody out there listening, who is Monique Nicole? Tell us a little bit about, what you've been doing and when you discovered that you needed music to be a part of your life and all that good stuff.
Oh, wow. I've been singing since I could pretty much talk. And I went into the music world probably about professionally as a singer. 2015 is when I dropped my first single. But previous to that, I was doing artist management and, I owned a few studios and I worked in a supporting role, helping other artists, achieve their dreams. But in 2015, I decided to invest in myself. So that's when I had dropped my first single, Say Yes. And, I got pretty lucky and was blessed that the single did really well here in the States and abroad. And that's where it pretty much began for me as a solo artist.
Now you know that when you help other people achieve what they're trying to achieve, it always comes back and opens doors for you. So I'm just elated to hear what you just said in your opening statement.
Oh, thank you. I had a passion to help others, and I had a passion to also, stay connected to the music business. And, my parents, they didn't really support being an artist per se. They felt that music was more of a hobby than a profession. So, I listened pretty much, and, I went to school. I wound up, having a career in law enforcement, which I just retired from in April. And, while being able to satisfy, what I needed as far as being within the industry in those capacities. But I'm happy that, at some point I did push forward and, be able to, to live my dream a little bit. A lot, I should say. So, yeah. So it's been going well. For the most part, you got your peaks and valleys, because the business is not easy. It's not, it's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. And, but it keeps going up. So we're going in the right direction, which is great.
Yeah, that's what's up. And, what you were saying about what your parents said about it not, being for a career, but maybe a hobby. You're not alone. There are a lot of people who've experienced that. It's always like, oh, well, make sure you have something to fall back on. But it's really cool that you found a way to still be involved in it, even if you weren't practicing your artistry as it was, but to be able to help others, like you had mentioned, that's really cool. So, since you had that experience, how much of that have you been able to use to help you yourself as an artist? Like, how did that kind of shape how you move within the industry now?
Well, it helped me enormously because, you reading contracts, you're doing this, you're doing that a lot. You're doing a lot in the management capacity. So, I was managing myself up until about 2 years ago. So, it allowed me to have the knowledge base to be able to navigate, throughout the industry, not just as an artist, but also as a representative of myself. So, knowledge is power always. So it definitely did help. And, I'm independent. I have my own label, and I've had labels previously with other artists signed to me. So I'm signed to myself now currently. So it helps a lot. It definitely helps. You should know the business that you're within, because music is a business. And if you don't know the business side, you're gonna have a problem.
Well said. Well said. Wouldn't you say, Breezy?
Oh yes, but see, now you have a very calm and calming demeanor. Okay, right, and so which leads you to come across as a very influential person in the industry. Okay, and so which I give you kudos for that. And so you've got advantages that others don't have, which is a good thing. So I'm just happy to sit back and absorb you and what you're saying and the way you're saying it today.
Oh wow, thank you.
Yeah. Good stuff. So now you were raised in Brooklyn, right?
Yes. Born and raised in Brooklyn.
Yes.
Can I yell at the side, Brooklyn?
Of course, because you already know Brooklyn is always in the house.
Yeah. So we gotta know about how that's shaped you musically as well.
Yes. Well, Brooklyn, it's a melting pot, and coming from parents that are like, my father was from down south, my mother's from the Caribbean, and living in Brooklyn, and it's just multicultural. So you would hear a lot of those influences come out in my music. And I think it was like a huge benefit to me being able to grow up in Brooklyn, through a great era, few great musical eras, like I have a mixtape where that was produced by my brother, which had a whole bunch of like guest DJs on it. And it was called Straight from the Crates. And, that came up from being in Brooklyn, going to these block parties, and MCs coming through and rocking the mic. But instead of that, I was singing on different tracks that they were cutting up or whatever. So that was just like such a dope era to live through. It's just, you had that. Then you had, of course, the reggae. You had soca. You had Eastern Parkway. That was popping off every Labor Day. I didn't live too far from there. So I had so much around me that has affected me and my artistry. So I'm thankful that I grew up in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is a huge part of me that would never leave. It's like once from Brooklyn, always from Brooklyn. So it's like no matter where I go, that's where I represent. And people know as soon as you open your mouth anyway, because I have an accent. Like I'm here in the South. I'm out in I'm north of Atlanta. And no matter where I go, they're like, "Oh, from New York. You from New York?" It's like, yeah, I'm from New York. Like I can't hide it. It's just not gonna change, So yeah, it's a huge part of who I am for sure.
All right, thank you so much for tuning in to Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. We're very excited to say we have the phenomenally talented, just more than a triple threat, I believe. She's got a lot of stuff going, and just a delightful personality, delightful talent. The one, the only Adrienne Ralph. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, and even better after hearing you describe me that way.
Yes. Well, just so the audience knows, we connected on Instagram. I always love your posts, your videos, and, just really positive and upbeat. And like I said, to have that shining personality and talent is just, really magnetic. So if you could just kind of let everybody know who you are, what you do, and what first drew you to music.
Okay, well, I'm Adrienne Rell, and I'm actually right now I live in Southern California with my husband and family. But I'm originally from Canada, so I'm from like the west coast of Canada, and I write songs and I sing. That's mainly what I do right now, although I also vocal coach and I have a fashion resale business too. And I'm also an artist. So like, yeah, there's a few things going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so first, what drew me to music? My family's really like growing up, they put like a huge importance on like creativity, and like my parents had me in like choirs and music lessons from when I was really young. So I don't know, I think maybe they just put me in because they liked music, and then they realized like, oh, she actually is pretty good at this. So they like I was able to do like piano lessons and did a lot of like musical theater and dance, that kind of thing growing up. But yeah, I would say like I love all forms of creativity and self-expression, but the one that has kind of like, I guess the one that I feel comes most naturally to me is singing and songwriting. So yeah.
So yeah, you just went through a whole gamut of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so, you mentioned that that's kind of what resonates with you for self-expression. Let's see, not what age, but how long ago would you say that it was when you realized out of all these things that you could do, these two things were your favorite? What was that moment like for you?
Oh, let's see. I think I was probably about 15 or 16. And I was really like, before, I always sang and did music, but I was more into dance, and I really wanted to be a professional dancer when I was younger. And I think like, I don't know if you know a lot about like the dance world, but they're really specific about like body type. And like basically if you don't have a certain body type, they're like, sorry, you're just not cut out for it. I did not have this body type. So I kind of like reached a point when I was in my mid-teens where I was like, I really don't think this is going to happen. And I had started a group with my sister and a friend. Like we just did a cappella songs, and we had started to write our own music, and we'd started to kind of like get gigs at little festivals and stuff in our area. And so it was almost like the dance was like tapering off, and then I kind of was like, oh, there's this other thing that's happening, and like actually I think I'm like cut out for this. So yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, it does. So yeah. And I know exactly what you mean. I was in 6th grade when I realized that wasn't going to happen for me. I was taking a jazz class and I'm like, yeah, this isn't working. But yeah, so like to be able to switch gears like that and, find something that you're passionate about as well, that you're really good at is a blessing. So, kudos to you for being able to shift gears and, not stay caught up on that that realization, if you will. It's kind of sad how unforgiving that world is, as far as the varieties of, body types, because I'm definitely not traditional either. So, yeah. So I know Breezy's probably burning to ask you a question. I'll go ahead and let you chime in.
Yeah, my input, I relate directly to the parents shipping you off into piano lessons or so on and so forth. I think that it works wonders for a young person as far as making them more well-rounded giving them exposure to things that they hadn't seen before or thought of before. And, those different notes of the scale, in my opinion, it just expands a young person's brain. It expands their mind. And so the trickle down from that is, once they get into the teens or the early adults or even the later ages, they can fall back and find abilities or capabilities to make reaches that some of the other children that when they didn't have that in the beginning, they can't do that. Okay, so kudos to you. I'm one of those people who, and just like Achickwitbeatz was saying, we're really in kind of rare air, having had that kind of background. So yeah, kudos to you for that. And so we directly relate.
Yeah, it's for sure. Like, I remember looking back and like my parents were like pretty strict about it. They're like, if we're paying for piano lessons, you have to practice. Me at the piano and be like, okay, practice, we're watching you, we're making sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. And like as a kid I was like, oh, I hate this. But like now as an adult I'm like, oh, I'm so glad they did it, because really like you were saying, there's nothing like it for just giving you that like musical foundation and like being able to like think in that way, like musically. And yeah, it's like a whole different language, isn't it?
Right. Because you can take all of those recitals and so on and so forth that happened years and years ago. There was a crowd, whether the crowd was 5 people or 55 people. It started ingraining that type of exposure into you. So it's nothing like right now coming across a teenager or someone that's a young adult and ask them to even make a speech, just a speech. And once they find out they're going to be in front of a big crowd, sometimes they freeze up.
Yeah.
So with us having that exposure, being fortunate to have that, that's something that it doesn't happen to us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So kudos to you again for all you're doing.
Yes. And so you mentioned the songwriting, and when you get in your bag, like what do you do to kind of draw for inspiration, whenever you have a session?
Well, I work like from the top line angle. So sometimes like I have a group of producers that I work with that send me tracks, and then I write a song to the track. So I like on my phone I have on my note-taking app I kind of keep a list of like when I think of like, oh, that would be a good title for a song, or like that's a really cool line, or that's an interesting way of saying that, I'll just note it down. So so when I get a track, I'll listen to it and be like, okay, what's the feel of it? Like, is it kind of angry? Is it sad? Is it happy and light and upbeat? And then from there, I'll kind of look at my little stash of of notes and ideas and be like, oh, this would fit with how this feels. Or sometimes I'll even just like turn it on and then just start like scat singing or non-verbal, like improvising over top. And then from there, sometimes words will come and I'll be like, okay, that's where it's going. And but I would say like the other way where I start just from nothing, it's usually because I have something that I want to say. So I feel like that's harder because like I have to be like, okay, how do I want to say this? Do I want to say this? Like what word patterns do I want to have, or rhythms, or like what feel do I want it to have? Where do I want it to go? Whereas like sometimes like if you have a track already, you know kind of where it's going. But when there's nothing, it's like it's really cool because you have total freedom, but then sometimes it's like I don't even know where to go with this. It could go anywhere. So yeah, I would say yeah, so that's usually how, like the two ways that I would approach writing a song.
All right, and that does it for this week's edition of Music Marvels with Achickwitbeatz and Breezy Gipson. Once again, we thank you for tuning in to join us. We thank our home stations, Grander Radio out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Sparks Radio out of Denver, Colorado. And, I'm already looking forward to next week. We already got Big J Rizzle coming back to join us next week, so make sure you tune in to catch that. And, I just love doing this every week, don't you?
Yeah, especially with Grander Radio, because Grander be grandin'. The Sparks Radio, the Sparks sure be sparking.
That's perfect.
I just wanted to shout out to them as well. Oh, yeah.
Yes. All right. So till next time, you know where to find us. Tune in, tell a friend, and we'll see you then. Peace.
Peace.